Flooring Models, kit review time. Today we've got Panda's 1/35 scale. This is the M ATV with the MRAP with the Crow's RWS system. It's all these acronyms these days for these things. Basically, MRAP is the mine-resistant ambush vehicle, and the Crow thing is the automatic remote cannon on the top. So, nice box art, very nice on that one, as you can see. And then we've got a little bit about it and about the Crow system. Okay, down here on this, so you got your number for this one is PH35007. Okay, a little bit on the back, not too much going on with any of that one. So in the box we actually have quite a stuffed full box, as we can see. So if we just start off the normal way, we whip our way through what we've actually got down in here. Very nice sheet actually. So we've got a little thing just down here and the call out, which is quite nice because it's sort of got some nice weathering picture as well to give you a bit of an idea of perhaps what you want to go with. But that gives you a look at the beast, and a beast it is. Okay, so usual thing with Panda, you know, always a little bit, I don't know, not as sharp as some other kits is say. Nothing wrong with the plastic, it's just the way they do things. Okay, again, because this is like a plastic glossy cover over a sort of, you know, paper, it just makes it feel a little bit odd. But there we go, that's all obviously got your sprue call outs all the way through. We've got 3 sheets of Photo-Etch down there, which is very nice. So as you can imagine, your normal way through, working in the lower system as actually everything else with the vehicle, getting it all onto the chassis and making your way generally through all the drives. You've actually got 2 halves of springs, which is a bit, sometimes you get the actual real spring, which is quite nice for the core springs and everything else. But anyway, the drive units and all the bits and pieces going into the underside, as you can imagine on these types of things, there's quite a lot of it going on there. Some very nice detail going in there of all these systems, putting all of those in, and the plates and absolutely everything else, getting it onto its wheels. So we've got a rolling chassis then. And then you're starting to work on the actual top half of the actual crew area with the actual driving equipment all going in. Some of this stuff looks like this is Photo-Etch, which is this rear for the seats and things like that. Again, this is all this mine resistant stuff that's supposedly supposed to share the shock and actually everything out of this one. Going right the way through the Crow system, which is obviously for the joystick with the remote cannon on the roof. All those seats going in there. And then basically chucking it all down onto the chassis and working your way up. As I said, this vehicle is a beast. Everyone should own one of these. Absolutely fantastic. Okay, going right the way through, putting all the actual extras on there. And then just generally, as you can see, there's plenty onto this one. Lots of work, nice detail to actually make up a very nice vehicle at the end of it. Okay, and then carrying on, obviously the spare wheel going on there. All of this armour glass being put in. Obviously you've got boxes of it to give that look of thickness of the glass right the way through. And then obviously you've got the top chassis going down there, the compartment. All the doors going on there, all the equipment, obviously it's everything from your door mirrors to actually everything, cleats, bolts, lots of bolting systems going down on here. The actual protection underneath it to try and deflect some of that energy from mines and things being put on there, the side steps right the way through. As you can see, lots and lots of detail on this particular one. And then obviously just the last parts going on there. So you've got various things, obviously the lights, the hatches and everything else. And then obviously got the gun system being put on. So as you can see, lots to this particular one, loads of bits going on. So where are we going to start? Let's have a look in here. As I said, it's things like these bags. It looks like they're sort of second hand. And it tends to be like that with Panda. They tend to staple them and everything else. So it just gives you that impression of that it's not very good or it's like low quality and all the rest of it. But actually, when you get into these things, if we can get this out, not too bad. So again, we've got this nice stressing on the actual walls of the tyres, which is a very nice touch. I'll just drop this top side camera in a little bit. As you can see, we've got these stress marks on there, looking absolutely great on both sides of them as well. So that's a very, very nice touch. We don't have a centre seam in the tyres, and actually they do look pretty strong and chunky tyres. Yeah, probably bit of the sprue, as you can see it down there. A little bit plain, but the bolts and the systems on the side are very nice, very crisp, nice and sharp. No problem with those at all. And then we've got a little bit of detail on the inside, but unfortunately I have got some very large ejector pins down in there as well. Okay, and then onto the bonnet, unfortunately we've got a casualty a little bit of broken on the bonnet system there, probably where it's been chucking around with this thing. Okay, generally, as you say, when you look at it, it's, you know, you've got a mould seam mark going through here from two parts of the mould and everything else. Unfortunately, it's clipped dead center. I assume at some point perhaps this was together on the mould like this, and then it's obviously been torn off to fit it into the bag, which is just that lack of care during the actual manufacturing, which is real shame. The actual texture is quite weird as well. It's like the mould hasn't been polished, okay, but generally it is there. So down into here, as I say, into the bags. Okay, so going around looking at the parts, a little bit of flash, a little bit of funny moulding going on with some of these. It's quite softly moulded. It's definitely not as sharp as we've seen with kits of late. Okay. So, you know, it's a bit of a shame with that, but generally not too bad. You know, you have got the detail is all here. It's just a little bit soft, generally not as crisp as perhaps you would hope, and everything else. And just things like, you know, off of the molds themselves, it's just quite clumsy the way it all goes together. It's not too bad, but, you know, down here you got half ejector pin sticking up, this wheel half. It's almost like a not quite there, just little bits on the edges down here, things like that. It's not as crisp as perhaps you would like it to be. Okay, and then moving through onto this sprue, so we've got the steering wheel. Just generally, we've got the mirror things, bits and pieces like that. It's all here, but as I said, it's the same thing. It's just a little bit of flash, just here and there and around, just quite soft moulding, things like that. Other things are okay, like the doors here is very nice. We've got the bolt system on here, which obviously for the skins of the doors and everything else, quite nicely done. No ejector pins on them or anything else like that. It's just quite soft, all of it. You know, down to the steering wheel, it just has that, it's not very crisp, it's not very sharp, it's just a ring, you know, and things like that, unfortunately. So, in the next bag, but it's just like the bag, it's like, you know, I know it sounds it's just a bag, but it just seems like a tatty bag. Okay, the ammo feeders, as you can see, the 50 cal's got some nice detail on those, so that's not so much a problem. Top hatch is okay, generally going around. Same type of story on this sprue as well. Yeah, all the ejector pins are very nice, they're very flush. They're not raised particularly on any of these parts like they were on the bigger ones. It's just that it's just not got that sharpness of detail perhaps you'd like to see. Tiny little bit of flash on this bit here, but not too bad. On this guy again, I think also a lot of this is the colour of the styrene doesn't help. It's horrible when they try and match it. It's going to be a sand coloured vehicle, so we do it in sand coloured styrene. Really, it's horrible. It just doesn't look right. Because the thing is, it's quite opaque and you can see through it, so it makes it look like it's cheap. Okay, couple more casualties. So we've got a break over here. This is the trouble when you have multiple sprues in together and things like that. So, you know, generally it's okay. It's just a little bit fine. Yeah, these are such delicate little pieces. I'd like to see them protected a little bit more really than just chucked in a bag with another one. Okay, so this guy here, again, a little bit of flash coming off of various things. You know, quite soft, some of the moulding. You know, again, it's just the story, you know, it's just these bits like down here, there's a little bit flashy going on around these areas and things, but it is all here and it's all good. It's just not quite refined enough for what I'd be hoping for going through, especially because obviously this is a lot of the mechanics for the underside. There's a lot of burring down on the sprues that you're going to have to clean up. So if you've got yourself like something like an Alex scraper, one of these guys, they're great because you can just get in there, wiggle them around and fix any problems, but there's plenty of it. Okay, so yeah, slightly disappointing if we're honest. So we've just got a match pair here. I'm just making sure it's all correct and is all good. But just generally, just the tidy up of these bits all down here is going to take a little bit of time to sort out. Okay, so again we've got bits loose. So we've got an exhaust pipe running around loose down here. Quite a hollow sprues obviously from down here. But as you can see, it's probably the top side. Very much flash on this. This one's covered in flash absolutely everywhere, as you can see, and it's all on the parts as well. It's a very disappointing sprue, this one. Not nice at all. You know, don't get me wrong, flash isn't so much of a problem. It's just a pain that it's eggs. You have to go around and clean it up. And when you're paying a lot of money for a kit, you shouldn't be paying for flash, you know. It's just a cheap kit. It just looks like it's been stamped out quite cheaply. You know, when you get flash, that's when you get mismolds and things like that as well. So the actual chassis parts as well, again, it's just quite soft. I don't know if that's a mismold up at this area up here, but just looks a little bit soft as it goes down through there. The rest of it doesn't look too bad. You know, some nice details in here. It's just unfortunate it's just so flashy and everything else, which I know is a little bit of a Panda trait. You know, they're not the best manufacturer out there. It's just that they've got a good range of kits that are just that little bit behind. This will be a multi-set. Again, pretty flashy, all of these parts for the seats and everything else like that. Could take a little bit of cleanup. You know, this guy here is completely all over the place. That's, you know, just got bits all over it. It's going to need to be cleaned up before you can use it. And I presume these are antenna bases. They're quite crudely done as well. There's nothing particularly nice about those. Right the way down to these bolt systems here. I think by the time you get them off here, you're not going to have anything left because they are just blobs of plastic, which is a bit unfortunate. Things you do get though, which is very nice. I'll get in here. Let me in. So, you have got the Photo-Etch, which immediately you notice are quite heavy, but these, because they're coated in the plastic to protect them. It's amazing these are protected but the other bits aren't. But as you can see, some very nice Photo-Etch on these ones. Some nice detail to make up that framework, the chassis bits inside, things like that. So that's a nice touch. We've got another one just down here, as I said, same type of thing. Nicely done. And then your last one, we got a bit of grill, got a tiny bit actually, there's another one on top. Okay, so yeah, some nice things there. The decals themselves, again, you know, nothing you'd shout home about. I can feel them on it. It's like Braille. You know, you could almost read it like Braille. They're very thick, but they are, I'm hoping, just the parts, i.e. you haven't got carrier film right the way over them, which I don't think you have. So that is all pretty nice. So last up, we just got the clear parts, which are flat, so they should be fine, but we'll have a double check. Okay, so as we can see, yeah, that's all good. They're fine. No problem with those at all. And that said, this one over here, we got big texture on this piece of glass, which, you know, you could get away with. I don't know how well which cameras will pick that up, but you can actually see it's got like a mismold or a texture in there, which on armor glass isn't too much of a problem, because let's face it, you could say anything's happened. So you could say it's had a blast at some point and it's got a bit damaged on there. And then last up in here, we've got a couple of other bits running around, so just check. This is why you never throw out your bags until your model's completed, because sometimes you'll find a tiny bit in the corner, okay, and everything else. So we've got a couple of little boxes there. Again, nothing you'd ever shout home about. So there we go, that is the Panda. This is the M ATV with the MRAP system and the Crow system. Again, it's just probably not for the beginning of this kit. It's got a little bit of flash, going to take a lot of bit of work to get it up to standard, but it's a great kit in the vehicle itself and everything else. I think bit of time spent putting it right, nice bit of Photo-Etch work in there to detail it up. It should turn into a great kit.